My superpower is humility. I enter a room where I know I don't know everything and I have an open mind, right? And that allows me to communicate well. And the truth is, when you are humble and you enter a room, you learn everyone else's contributions. Like, for instance, the janitor. If the janitor does not show up to do his job, guess what? You might have an outbreak of nosocomial infections in the hospital, and people get sick and people die.
Welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, how to get it just right. We're so excited to join you for another episode and another insightful conversation. We're living at an age where, while we use the term healthcare, there is no care in healthcare. There is money, there is profits, there is outcome, there is KPI measures, and so much more. But the care for the caregivers, care for the patients, care for the family members, all of that has fallen on the wayside. How do we bring the care back into healthcare? How do we truly integrate technology to enable some of the rudimentary, repeatable things so that the healthcare professionals have the time to replenish and feel cared for and show up to care? All of these are a part of our struggle today. And there are organizations who are trying to figure out how to make this work and bringing solutions to the forefront. Today, we are going to be talking to Dr. Val Torres, a leading medical professional who's also an entrepreneur who is driving impact in this space. Dr. Val, welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks.
Good morning. Grateful and blessed to be here among other experts, right? And I'm excited. Teamwork really makes the dream work, and we need to work together to bring healthcare forward.
Beautiful. Dr. Val, as we get started, take a few minutes and give us some backdrop about what brought you into medicine. You're from the Caribbean, you're practicing in the United States. What brought you into the medical field, and what made you realize you need to pivot to think about things more than just delivery, the care aspect?
So that's the thing. In the Caribbean, we have a very heavy influence of people from India who tend to go into STEM, engineering, medicine. And of course, my parents, they were very influenced by that. They were like, you become a doctor or else don't come home. But I wanted to help people, right? I saw that helping people meant that I left a legacy behind, right? That was worth my time and that really improved outcomes for everyone. So I went into medicine. I was originally going to stay and live in Trinidad and Tobago, where I'm from. And then all of a sudden, I had the opportunity to move to the United States. Right? You know what they say, when opportunity comes knocking, right, you need to open that door, right? Move to the US, and I absolutely loved it. Totally different ecosystem, right, for medicine. It's a for-profit business versus a system in other countries where it's a civil service, right? I saw that. I was like, I can make a bigger impact in the business side of things. Got my MBA in multi-sector healthcare management, and now I do healthcare operations for a global network of clinicians. I feel like I can impact the system better by helping other physicians, clinicians, healthcare entrepreneurs, and healthcare disruptors, right? Support them better so they do better work. They have less stress, they are more productive, and you know what? Their patients are happier. right? That's basically my story in a nutshell, but I'm very, very invested in bringing healthcare workers together to benefit the patient, because it has to be the patient.
Absolutely, Dr. Val. Patients have to come first. Patient care has to be first. And as we think along those lines, can you talk a little bit about the organization you're a part of and how it's using healthcare data and healthcare information and bringing in healthcare professionals to combine all of these elements to do something good for the world? Because it's not just in the United States.
Yeah, so the beautiful thing about the Global Health Impact Network and Funds is that we are a network. We're not just one person, one entity. We are like a coalition of healthcare professionals who want to see positive change in the world, right? We are a network of clinicians across 6 continents, right? And we're working together to improve global health outcomes. The problem is traditionally that healthcare has been fragmented, right? And it is very slow to innovate. What we do is we leverage technology to bring people together, to break down silos so everyone can collaborate, cooperate, and co-innovate, right? It's all about teamwork, and not just doctors, but PhDs as well, right? We have our system where we bring on professionals in healthcare, business, finance, education, STEM, tech, cybersecurity, education, nonprofits. Because the reality is healthcare is more than just healthcare professionals, right? Everyone has something valuable to contribute, right? And the quicker we admit that and we work together as a team, right, we're going to have outcomes that are better, faster, and higher quality to help our patients.
That is a beautiful sentiment and rooted in reality.
Yes.
But for some reason, people going through the medical program come out with a certain God-type complex, I am better. The higher the medical qualification, like a general physician versus an anesthesiologist versus a surgeon, the higher they go, the greater that God complex. And within even the healthcare industry, there is an expectation of that I-thou relationship. I am the thou, and you all shall listen to me, right? And it's not a flat thought process. It's not a flat structure. It's not a flat mindset. With that hierarchy baked into education, how are we going to break that cycle? Because no matter how much we want, if the mindset doesn't change, and if people believe that the healthcare technicians are not as important as the doctors and the surgeons, but it's the technicians who keep that place clean. Technicians are the ones who keep everything moving and functioning, right? So how do we create an environment where there is space and tolerance and respect for everybody?
Of course. And it is important, right? When we build teams, everyone needs to be valued and appreciated so that they can do their best work and bring their best value to the table, right? At Global Health Impact Network and Funds, we're not just about doctors. We're about every healthcare professional across the spectrum. Because, like, for instance, today, if all of the nurses in the United States just decided, hey, I'm not going to go to work today, right? You know who suffers? Not really the doctors, but the patients, right? Everyone has an important contribution they bring to the table. And when you have a network of everyone coming together, we share knowledge, we share best practices, we share leadership skills. And part of leadership is empathy and compassion. And those soft skills, right, that some soft skills doctors may not have been taught in med school, they may not have traditionally needed, but you know what? Nurses excel at those soft skills. Techs excel at those soft skills because they in their jobs, they have more face-to-face with the patient than maybe doctors do. And many of these professionals, they may be less burnt out than doctors, but they can still teach us. We're healthcare professionals. We are always learning. That's how it's supposed to be.
Beautiful. Research shows that patients and families and civilians trust nurses the most of all profession, not just medical, of all profession. And doctors and lawyers are at the bottom of that list.
Yeah.
General population profession. So when nurses are the ones who are caring, compassionate, engaging with the patients, the families, all of it, how can your organization help bridge that at an age where we are short of general physicians and nurse practitioners are also taking the place of medical doctors at that first tier? So with all of these dynamics going on, with shortage of healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, everybody, the sense of urgency is there.
Yeah.
How do you see us bridging these various dichotomies to bring this together?
So I am a firm believer in elevating nurse leadership, right? It's the nurses who are doing all the heavy lifting. They are doing all the face-to-face with the patient when the doctors aren't around. They are the ones who are personally investing the majority of their time in patient care. We need to better support the nurses, because when the nurses win, the doctors win, everybody wins, right? At our network, we would love to have more nurses who are leading in their fields to step up. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear about your best practices, what you do that makes patient care more efficient, right? And we want to spread that message. Now, when it comes to healthcare professionals, the shortage that we are experiencing, right? We need to widen and diversify the STEM pipeline. We need more women in healthcare. And yes, Dr. Cass, there are studies that also show that when women are the healthcare providers and professionals that are treating the patients, right, patients have better health outcomes, right? We don't know why. It's not fair to generalize that, hey, you're female, you're better at caring for others. That is a gross generalization. But overall, women professionals in healthcare get better outcomes. We need to teach those skills, hard skills, soft skills, to the men, right, in the profession. So the entire profession is elevated. That's what my thoughts are.
Absolutely right, Dr. Val, because research shows that we raise boys not to recognize emotion, not to indulge in emotion. So we have grown men who are not emotionally intelligent because those tools were not given to them. And in fact, they were told it is not being a man if you can feel, right? So we've socially engineered a scenario where men, if you're a real man, you won't feel, you'll just drive outcome, you'll just bring the results. It may have worked in a hunter-gatherer era where you can't show fear, you have to kill the animal and bring it home for food for the family.
Yes.
But we're no longer hunter-gatherers. Mothers are not at home nurturing and raising a family, and fathers are not out there going and putting their life at risk and bringing summer food home for the whole family to eat for 2-3 days, right? So while society has evolved, our norms haven't. And so this is where you and I are working on how do we bring emotional intelligence into the medical profession, and how do we make that a fundamental pillar of care? Because if I don't know how to feel and I can't recognize my emotions, then I'm not going to be able to recognize it in others. And therefore, I don't have the capacity or the tools to have compassion, to have empathy, to show up with kindness and to nurture, because it is just an outcome-based exercise, because that's how I have trained myself to be.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the power of emotional intelligence and that getting integrated into healthcare throughout the life cycle of being trained and practicing in healthcare?
So emotional intelligence is very important for me, right? Particularly because I was raised in a culture, being Caribbean, right, having Latino heritage, where emotional intelligence was the norm. When you have 20 cousins, right, you're forced to learn social skills. You're forced to learn a way of living where everyone wins, right? You elevate everyone and everyone's needs are met. when it comes to doctors, when we entered med school, we all had our white coat ceremonies where we took the Hippocratic Oath, where we do what is best for the patient. We are at the point where emotional intelligence is best for the patient. We need to put aside our egos, right? We need to learn skills, particularly soft skills, that can help the patient, because regardless whether or not, right, the patient benefits from compassion and empathy when you are allocating and delivering healthcare resources, right? In the United States, healthcare is a business, right? Some people might disagree, but it is just the truth. And the rules of businesses are the same. People do business with people they like, know, and trust. Emotional skills, emotional intelligence, it increases that trust between the physician and the patient. And the more there's trust, the better health outcomes we see, right? That's something that's not going to change, Dr. Cass.
Brilliant. That is never going to change. And most of us, I come from a different culture. The doctor comes home. We don't have to go to the hospital. Doctor is a part of the family. And in the Eastern tradition, doctor keeps the family healthy.
Yes.
It's not a business, it's a service. And keeping the family healthy is the hallmark of a good doctor, right? Yes. Not treating them after they got sick. So the food habits, the lifestyle, everything is a part of the conversation families have with doctors, because doctors are technically a wellness coach in so many ways, right? So as we think of what your organization is going to be doing and is doing, where do you see the changes happening, and how will we notice the changes happening?
Oh, changes. We want major changes. So we want to teach doctors how to play better with others, right? Our profession is notorious for not playing well with others. We are entering this ongoing digital health revolution where people's skills are going to separate the people from AI, right? And it's going to be the doctors who have those soft skills and people skills who are going to have an advantage when it comes to getting jobs, advancing in careers, all of that. Our organization, we are breaking down those silos. So when we're seeing doctors these days, they're being demanded to have skills that are not taught in med school, right? Things like tech literacy, financial literacy, AI, empathy, leadership skills. Our organization is bringing those values, those services to the table to equip a newer generation of doctors who are better able to handle a more stressful healthcare industry. Because we're seeing a lot of new problems. We just got out of a pandemic, which was very stressful. When you have emotional intelligence, you're better equipped to handle problems like this and get better patient outcomes. And the best is yet to come. But we're a team, we're collaborative, and we need to work with people because we need people-powered progress.
Precisely. And I'm so happy to see the Global Health Impact Network moving into this space. Blessed to be a partner in this process. Glad we have been working. And just for disclosure purposes, Dr. Val and I both are on the board of Equipa Kids, where we bring emotional intelligence to children in the United States across all 50 states, K through 12. That's where we met. That's where we built this relationship. And then that relationship has crossed over into all of this business elements. And I am absolutely delighted for the work Global Health Impact Network and Funds is doing. Dr. Val, how can folks get a hold of you to learn more? We have quite a bit of medical professionals in our podcast community, and I'm sure they're going to want to reach out to you and learn more and maybe even engage.
So yeah, I'm very active on LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is my jam. LinkedIn is my playground. You can feel free to reach out to me there. I believe my link would be included in this podcast somewhere, right? You can also email me as well at vtorres@globalhealthimpactnetwork.net, right? Just tell me like, hey, Dr. Val, let's talk, let's collaborate, right? I'm very different from many doctors. I listen. I want to learn best practices. I want to hear what you have to say because the patients, they need help. They need more, right? And they need a team of doctors who are working well with others, right, to help them.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Dr. Val. And I am going to open this up to our live audience because I am sure they are chomping at the bits to engage with you. So as I open this up, Dr. Nandini, the doctor in the house, go ahead.
Hi. Thank you so much. I'm so glad I hopped onto this episode. Emotional intelligence, doctors working with each other and other people is big on my horizon as well. And, what I'm noticing and my question, I guess, is about your thoughts on private equity, because, research again and again has shown that when private equity takes over, that's when a lot of burnout and doctors become disillusioned and move out of the health space, nurses, doctors, healthcare professionals, as well as recently, I think it was day before yesterday or something, JAMA had a research letter that came out saying that, private equity has acquired, I think, something like 500 billion healthcare hospitals now. And they found that even the assets business-wise is going down. Like they found that it went down 24% or 25% once the private equity took over. It's a small paper, small sample size, so you can't really say much of it. But I was just wondering, whether you've noticed an uptick of people wanting help, trying to adjust from being a private entity, moving into a corporate world of private equity as physicians, trying to navigate and understand corporate structure versus the structure that we are taught in medical school where we are balancing that. And I would like for you to speak on that if you don't mind. Thank you.
That is very interesting. And just full disclosure, I'm not a finance guy, right? Mm-hmm. I just work with some very brilliant finance people. But from what I've noticed, yes, people do have concerns when it comes to private equity, right? Yes, there needs to be better communication when it comes to anything business or finance when it comes to doctors. Doctors are not taught about finances in med school. And it is a shame because you get into a world where you're practicing and it's like, what is all of this? This is a language that I don't speak. And when we have a situation like that, you have a mismatch of expectations, right? Communication needs to be had from the beginning of that conversation all in between to the end when it comes to private equity, right? There needs to be better communication. I believe in people first organizations because at the end of the day, it's the people who are serving people and the people are the organization's greatest assets, right? There needs to be a lot of changes in the education for financial services, right? And private equity needs to come to the table and speak to the doctors, and everyone needs to be on the same page. That's just my opinion.
Right.
Interesting. As the finance person in the conversation here, I would like to interject something.
Yes.
Venture capital VCs, they're there just for the profit.
Yes.
They come in, take over, transform, make the profit, pass it over to somebody else, extract the profit, and they're gone. Their sole is profit and profit only. So it's important on medical professionals, medical practices, anybody who wants to go get capital needs to understand the different places to get capital, different mindsets with which the capital is provided, and how to best leverage this. So angel investors are going to be more open to being that philanthropic, mindful, let's do the right thing because these are good-hearted humans with money who want to put their money to good use, not necessarily extract too much profit. Okay? Another thing to remember is in the next 20 years, starting now, about $80 trillion are going to change hands from dying baby boomers. And about 20 to 40 trillion of that is going to go to women because most of them have younger wives. Obviously, they're second wives. And even if it's their first wife, the women are going to live about 4 to 6 years longer than them. So the first time in history, there's going to be a massive transfer of wealth to the hands of women. And women care about healthcare. Women care about wellness. How do we tap into that pool? Because these are monies they're going to want to invest. How do we identify them? How do we proactively cultivate them? And how do we bring them into the solutioning? That is where the magic is. We can't go after the same process with the same people who just want money and expect a different outcome, because that makes us insane, right? So how do we do something different? How do we approach it differently? How do we understand the marketplace and approach the right people? Because what goes in is what's going to come out. If the mindset of going in is profit at all cost, the only thing that's going to come out is money at the cost of people.
Right. And I do agree with you, Cass, Dr. Henry, when, healthcare, even the profession is changing because of the number of women that are entering healthcare, and they're being disillusioned with the bigger hospitals. The highest number of physicians that are opening new practices is actually women. And that has created a trend where women are dynamic and our values are very different, where we want to be available to our kids. We want to be available to our family. We want our staff to be available for their kids and family. And so a lot of women are changing their whole way of practicing medicine in their clinics. And that has created a change in, within even healthcare management, where when companies are coming and talking to the practice owners about, how much profit they're going to make and how much this they're going to make, the women are like, yeah, I don't care about that, because I only want to work 3 days a week because I have this. So I need to change everything else around. So you need to fix this for me. So I do agree with you that engaging the women and finding how, things are changing it is already happening, and for us to be able to find that niche and create and maintain that change, that impact is a wonderful thing for us to do. Thank you.
Absolutely. I know Robin has some questions because she is focused on building humane, ethical, compassionate organizations that work for people. So yeah. I just cannot wait for Robin. Go ahead, Robin.
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving this conversation, and totally will connect with you, Dr. Val. I loved what you said where, going back to Cass's comment that the doctors think that they are God and everything else is below them. And one of the interesting pieces of research that came out of that I learned about in my applied positive psychology, Master of Applied Positive Psychology program, is that the hospitals and care facilities, everybody felt that they were part of the team, that they had lower mortality rates and lower infection rates. Now, granted, there's many things that go into this, but there's one really powerful quote where in an oncology unit, the janitor crew, this woman, and it's where after people get to chemotherapy, they're vomiting, they have diarrhea, etc. And the cleanup crew has to come in and clean this up before the next patient. And this woman janitor, maybe a male janitor might have said the same thing, but the woman janitor said, I am equally important to the health of this patient. And I should have it memorized by now, but I am equally important. I help them feel some humanity and some dignity when they're at their lowest. I am an equal partner on this team. And so they found that the hospitals who had their janitors felt that they were part of the team. So my question is, in organizations, how can you help the doctors realize, hey, the janitors have an equally important role as I do, and have some mutual respect going both ways, and then the organization to recognize that in financial ways?
Oh, so this is a very interesting question, right? A lot of doctors have really asked me, like, hey, Val, why do you behave like that? Why do you think like that? Why are you so different to other doctors? But it stems from perspective, Robin, right? My perspective going through med school is when I was dealing with a lot of patients, I saw a lot of death, right? And I was reminded by the fact that we are all human. We are born to die. We have an expiration date, right? Regardless of what profession we have or how many degrees we have. So we need to make the best use of our time. It is not productive for us to spend our time in an ivory tower thinking that we are better than others. We need to use our gifts and intellect for the better of humanity. My solution to treating that God complex for the sake of the patient is, hey, let's work with other health professionals who speak the language of healthcare, but who have better skills than we do. Let's have the physicians, the doctors, working with the nurse leaders, right? And let's teach the things that each of the professionals might be missing. Let's do that. Let's work together to cover our blind spots. That's my opinion.
That's a fantastic perspective, because when I do coaching and training, one of the things I do is have people pick an accountability partner.
Yes.
The role of an accountability partner is twofold. One is to hold the mirror and show you your greatness and your superpower when you're at the lowest and you don't believe in it. And the other is to watch your blind spot, step on your shoulder and say, but have you thought about this? Did you take this into consideration? So having accountability partners from different roles makes that entire field that much stronger. And I love your perspective of having those blind spot watchers and creating the doctors, nurses, the allied service providers accountability partnership so that the entire experience gets richer. And coming from the Lean Six Sigma background, the best advice we give businesses is look at it through the voice of the people you're serving. If what you're doing is not serving the people and you're not listening to the voice of your customer, then your business is on an expiration date trajectory. Because when options open up, people are going to choose different. Just the same way education industry hasn't served people and people are walking away from it, there are going to be alternatives to the Western style healthcare. And before we get there, how do we fix it? How do we turn things around? And how truly do we build a viable society? So as we bring this fantastic conversation to a close, any words of wisdom you have for everybody involved in this healthcare life cycle? Because it's every one of us.
Well, of course, we need to do a better job working together to collaborate, right? Our patients, they deserve better, right? Our colleagues deserve better. We need to do what's best for the healthcare industry, not just in the United States, but globally. And that means we need to put aside our egos and we need to work with everyone, not just doctors, but the nurses, the techs, everyone across the healthcare spectrum. Because guess what? Our patients, right, they have problems, they need help. We need to step up. We need better leadership.
Thank you so very much for your insights, for your wisdom, and the courage to drive change, Dr. Val. You and I are on this journey and cannot wait to continue to build on this, integrate emotional intelligence, healthcare, holistic wellness, with the understanding that truly we're sustaining our own lives, the lives of our loved ones, because we're in this together. We don't get to opt out. Life as humans is a collaborative, collective process. And thank you so much for bringing that perspective to this conversation. And to our audience out there, please reach out, get engaged. The only way we're going to change a system that is no longer working for us as humans is for us to participate in that transformation. It is only together we're going to build something that's going to work for all of us. And opting out is only going to make that transformation less perfect. So let's work together so that we can truly build something we are going to be proud of and we can leave for our children and our grandchildren.